Hi, this is Dawn Barrett. I am still sick, day number 3. I'm here with this beautiful oracle friend of mine who just made a 3-course meal and a tea with a froth on it. No joke.
The lemon frog.
Yes, yes. So amazing. So amazing. So we're talking right now about the witch hunts, and I would love to hear more about it's so fascinating. So we're talking about what initiated the witch hunts to happen, and how did a bunch of women end up dying, or
What's
women and
supposed to be
men?
9 million women and men. Oh yeah, everybody, anarchists, uh, midwives, anybody who had any kind of social importance and created a network and was of social value started getting exploited. So the witch hunts was and is one of the most atrocious things ever happened to humanity over a long, what, 300 to 600 year period of just darkness and just pure inhumanity. And it's treated like a fairy tale in our history books. And but if not, it played the most important. It was the birth. It was when we went from being gatherers to agriculture came in, and then we started amassing wealth, and then an institutionalized wealth, and that's what the Witchhunts was about. So this is when it became an institutional power problem, and it was really because if you think about it, everything we're going through right now, the struggle of humanity wanting to break from these golden chains and usury, was happening then, and we were less evolved. We're talking about like the 1600s now, something 13 to 1600s, where anarchy and heresy were taking over, and the feudal system was coming to feudal system was coming to an end, and the reason that was happening was because the peasants were rich people. They had land they were living off, so they would meet all in the woods, and the woods were the places where we would gather, and the woman would be like the network in society, the what Native American cultures refer to the web,
The
the
web,
spider web.
the spider web.
Yeah, and women were the networks, and they were the midwives, and the medicine women, and all of that, and the tradespeople, and because so what happened was that the lords were losing power because the peasants weren't paying the tax on them, because like, f you, we don't need you for protection, we have each other.
So people were
And
forming community.
there were community and
Mm-hmm.
power, and egalitarianism was coming to power, and we were walking away from this awful system of usury and debt. And then the Lord started the witch hunts, and enclosures happened. Peasant lands were taken, and peasants were turned into factory workers, and were working and helping the birth of the Industrial Revolution by living in horrible living conditions because their lands were enclosed. And then the war happened on breaking up society and its network, and that started with burning women, calling them witches, and burning them on the stake, and for shock and awe, having the daughters watch so that they would, know better, basically. And then what would happen to the daughters? They would turn into prostitutes, and that's why the institutionalization of prostitution happened, and that's why prostitution is the world oldest profession to this day. And yeah, so they would turn into prostitutes, and either they had to be housewifization started around the same time, or they had to be
Housewifeization.
housewifization started around the same time, and they had to be submissive wives, so they would get burned on the stake, and but also midwives were replaced with doctors,
And
and
this
midwives
is
were burned as witches.
how
Yeah.
did they go in, and because midwifery was the thing, that was how people gave
Hmm.
birth. And
Yeah.
then in a very short time, all of a sudden there was no midwives, and you had to go to the hospital. But originally, when they had births in hospitals, literally the women would
All
scream
die.
and cry to not go in. They would literally
They would
they would
die. They
claw,
would die in
they would
labor. They
claw.
would
They would
not
not want to
make
go to
it
the
out.
hospital because
Yeah.
the male doctors would actually cut them without anesthesia, and they would touch them without washing their hands, and you had more of a chance to die in a hospital than you would giving birth
I don't
on
know.
the ground in the woods by yourself. I mean,
Mhm.
like, seriously,
Yeah.
they had a higher chance of death inside of a hospital, which is unfathomable to us now. But
Yeah, that's how Big Pharma started. Let's take away all your knowledge of healing and all that, and let's give you all these drugs and whatever we can make money off.
whatever we
And
can make money off of.
right, and
Yeah.
control, and even your reproductive system. But you want to talk real feminism? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So check this out. There is tribal societies going back millennia that had a form of birth control that was non-hormonal, and here we are, all these modern apes, showering apes, and we let big pharma decide our menstrual cycle and everything about our reproductive system. So are we really that free? That's great. We have turned from our role as women in society, went from labor uh, reproduction force to actual labor force. So in a way,
Reproduction whores to labor
well,
force.
we were women were like, since the institutionalization of prostitution and housewifeization, uh, and thanks to second wave feminism, we joined the labor force. So before that, our only role in society was the labor reproduction. So we would
To reproduce the labor.
the
The
labor,
labor force. Oh, so we made the
the
labor
birth
force.
certificate, the money. Every time
Yeah.
we're born, the banker makes money of us and our birth certificate. Yes. So that's another conversation. But
Did you say bank whore?
the
What's a
bank,
bank
our
whore?
birth certifications and how we're just nothing but labor force to the banking system. And there was actually, I would actually tune into eclipsenow.net for the details on this and read the books of Hollow Paths, where everything is
Path of Hollow
explained.
Bones.
The
Yeah.
Path of Hollow
Bones.
Bones,
Yeah.
that's right. And yeah, but really, that's all we are. We're modern slaves, and usury has never ended, and it will not end until we address the banking system. And basically, the birth of capitalism was put in force through the witch hunts and mass exploitation.
You were talking about how women used to be the web, and how in this incarnation we have a hard time trusting each other. And you thought that was some possible damage from the witch hunts themselves.
Oh, absolutely. I believe there's a big scar on woman's soul, womankind's soul, and that is that during the witch hunts they used shock and awe and made us watch each other get burned on a stake, and our mothers and our sisters and our beloveds. And we would also have to tell on each other, and often we would do that to either save the youngins or whatever. And I believe that this animosity has been created within our souls against each other. And I believe that um, during the witch hunt, since women were pitted against each other, our souls are still turmoiled by that, and we carry that energy around. And because really, what happens is that even if you don't believe in reincarnation and just multiple life cycles, you still got to remember that everything gets passed down through culture. So anything that existed and the trauma that happened and was created back then was passed down through heresy culturally to us and our zeitgeist and relations, social relations to this day. And that means that a lot of the cattiness, like the Bad Girls Club and Cat Club and all that, Brandy and Monica and the boy is mine.
Right. The boy is mine. Oh
yeah,
man,
right.
so much of that.
That I believe is just our souls having been burned, and we're still. It's PTSD of life, like souls, and that what really and this is what I didn't finish in the third video, and the video before that. Third feminism school, right? So if you look at the plot, so we had woman versus nature, we had woman versus men, and living in patriarchy and becoming CEOs and presidents, And then third wave is, if you look at the story plot line, it's really woman versus self. You know,
Mm.
this is
Whoa.
like the difference that we need to realize. And this is what I mean by third wave feminism is a chicken with no head. It has not realized its purpose in the plot. Like, it's called evolution, you know, and what we have not faced and challenged yet as modern women is uh, basically our internal dialogue and how we are feeding the beast that's exploiting us. So here we are complaining about the witch hunts and patriarchy, this and that, and yet we go and we put all these chemicals and toxins on our bodies for incredible prices, or we go and we sign up for credit cards and we chase an ideal that we know is not normal. It's like 1% of humanity might have, you know. So we are basically our own enemy, and it's almost like that moment in Blade Runner when the agent realizes that he is the predator, like the, you know, the, what do you call it, the, yeah, like the evil machine or part of the evil machine. So there's this crazy twist, and I think that's the same thing with women. Like, here we are, such modern, independent women who want no scrubs, but yet we are total slaves to the beast that's exploiting our natural beauty. And
It's very true. I actually made a video about top 5 stupid things women do, as far as like, trying to wear clucky high heels out. You don't need to do that to be attractive, or
yeah.
all the perfumes, all that crap.
Oh, the
Like,
perfume truly
forget
overrides
about it.
your own phermonal levels. It lies to
Right,
your own body and
right,
theirs, and
right,
then you
right.
wonder why you have a child with somebody you don't know. Shit! Maybe if you would have had nature take the course, you would have smelled some fishy there. You know, happens when you don't listen to your instinct because you covered that up. But so bougie Chanel and I don't
Mm.
know what. But more than that, it's like any job I've ever had, the most helpful people usually, not all the time, so, but majority of the time were men that mentored me. And some of the most biggest struggles I had were with women in power. And actually, Vivian Alexander makes in her book called How to Succeed in the Workplace Despite Having Female Brains, in parentheses, clever, how, women, their problem is, she relates it to the frame of brain and how we are fire preventers, and the male brain is a fire extinguisher. So we prevent the fire before it happens, but sometimes you got to be able to extinguish the fire. So here we are in a workplace. We don't Men create naturally consensus, like out of a problem they bring peace or make it work somehow. Women create more conflict. We stuck on why did it happen in the first place instead of bringing consensus to the table. And often I do believe that, this whole cattiness between, like, our souls are still traumatized from the past that's been denied to us, and, um, is the fact that we don't help each other out. We don't take each other, or haven't so far, but I see in the future that if we all want change to happen, then we have to start with ourselves and the woman next to us and the one next to us and whoever we interact with. And like Brain Brown says, it really comes from a place of vulnerability. We have to be vulnerable as women to be not feel threatened by other women and also empowering them. Because back in the days, yes, it was easy to get thrown away and replaced and all that, and we've become catty. But those days are over. So yeah, again, we can only heal or be loved, as Breen Brown would say, we can only be loved as much as we love ourselves.
Who said that?
Breen Brown and Daring Greatly.
Oh,
yeah,
that's very nice. I like that. I like that. Okay, I've got another idea for another one.